Thank you for being here and taking a little time to listen. I hope this story gives you a calm, meaningful break in your day. If you enjoy emotional science fiction about courage, mercy, and what humanity chooses to protect, please consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, or sharing the story with someone who might enjoy it too. Now let's step into Harbor 9, where one silent container is about to test the heart of Earth. Humanity sheltered the enemy's children. The first thing Nathan Cole noticed was the silence. Harbor 9 was never silent. Even before sunrise, the relief port on the coast of Earth breathed like a restless machine. Cargo lifts moved medical crates from one pad to another. Refugee families waited under canvas shelters while translators helped them understand which line to stand in. Medics checked children for fever. Security teams walked the fence, not to frighten people, but to keep fear from turning into panic. Nathan knew that sound, and he trusted it. It meant people were alive. It meant the port was working. That morning, the silence came from the far edge of Pad 3, where a small gray container sat alone under a weak security light. No crew stood near it. No ship claimed it. No worker had logged it into the port system. It had been placed beside the waste heat vents, where old equipment and damaged food crates usually waited to be hauled away. Nathan stopped walking. He had spent too many years in broken cities to ignore something that felt wrong. He was the civilian security chief at Harbor 9 now, but before that, he had been a peacekeeper for Earth. He had stood between frightened families and angry soldiers. He had pulled children through smoke. He had learned that danger often arrived quietly, wrapped in paperwork, stamped by someone who did not want to be responsible. A young security officer named Perez came up beside him with a scanner in one hand. "Chief, that container was not here during the last sweep," Perez said. Nathan kept his eyes on the gray box. "Who dropped it?" "No ship has claimed it." "Did the system miss a transfer?" Perez looked down at the scanner. "No transfer." The label was scraped off. "The only active tag says post-war biological hold." Nathan turned his head slightly. "Say that again." "Post-war biological hold," Perez said. "That is all it gives me." The words were cold enough to make the morning feel colder. At Harbor 9, people arrived with many labels. Displaced family, medical evacuee, lost minor, emergency witness, asylum applicant. Some labels were clumsy. Some were cruel, but they still pointed to a person. Post-war biological hold did not. It sounded like something a system used when it wanted to stop seeing the living thing inside. Nathan stepped closer. Perez lifted one hand. "Chief, we should wait for hazard control." Nathan did not answer right away. He listened. At first, he heard only the low hum of the vents. Then there was a faint sound from inside the container. 3 weak taps. Then nothing. Nathan's face did not change, but his voice sharpened. "Clear 20 feet around it. Bring medical, water, soft restraints only if medical asks for them, and no weapons pointed at the door." Perez swallowed. "You think someone is inside?" "I think someone knocked. The tag says biological risk." Nathan looked at him. "Then we treat it like a medical emergency until it proves otherwise." Within 60 seconds, the nearby workers were pushed back. 2 medics came running with a warming kit and a portable light. Nathan removed his sidearm and handed it to Perez before he stepped to the container door. Perez stared at the weapon in his hands. "Chief, if there are children inside, I do not want the first thing they see to be a gun." Nathan released the outer latch. The seal broke with a dry crack. A smell rolled out, stale air, fear, old plastic, and bodies too long in a place too small. One medic covered her mouth. Nathan opened the door wider and held up one hand to stop the portable light from shining directly inside. "Dim it," he said. "Low light." The beam softened. 12 children crouched in the back of the container. They were not human. Their skin had a pale blue-gray cast, and faint silver lines ran along their temples and wrists like natural markings under the skin. Their eyes were large, dark, and painfully alert. Several of them wrapped themselves in torn thermal blankets. One small child sat with both hands pressed over his ears. Another held an empty water pouch like it might still become useful. At the front stood the oldest child, a thin girl with scraped knees and shaking hands. She could not have been more than 12 or 13 in human years. She had placed herself between Nathan and the others, though she was barely able to stand. Nathan saw the mark on her wrist. His breath slowed. Veyr. For one moment, the container was gone, and Nathan was back in a ruined street 3 years earlier. He was kneeling beside a collapsed wall while his friend Carter tried to breathe through dust and blood. The Veyr War had ended on paper, but paper never buried the dead. Nathan still remembered the sound of Carter asking if the children from the apartment block had made it out. They had not all made it out. Now 12 Veyr children stared at Nathan, as if he had come to finish something. The oldest girl spoke first. Her voice was thin and rough from thirst, but the words were clear. Are you going to punish us for being born? No one moved. The medic beside Nathan made a small sound, not quite a sob. Nathan lowered himself to one knee outside the container door. He kept his hands open. He did not reach for the children. No, he said. My name is Nathan Cole. You are at Harbor 9, on Earth. You're getting water first. Everything else can wait. The girl did not relax. Nathan looked to the medic. Water pouches. Slowly. No crowd at the door. Perez whispered. Chief, the recognition tag just went active. The port system has identified them as Veyr miners. Nathan stood, but only halfway, so he was still not towering over the children. Lock the record locally. I cannot. The tag already pinged the relay. Nathan looked back at the children in the container. The youngest one had begun to shake. Then the whole port will know soon, Perez said. Nathan nodded once. Then we do this correctly before everyone else starts doing it badly. He turned to the medics. No one calls them cargo. No one calls them samples. No one calls them a risk in front of them. They are children. Put that in every chart. The oldest girl watched him. She had not taken the water. Nathan held the pouch out, then set it on the floor between them instead of pushing it into her hand. You do not have to trust me yet, he said. But the little ones need water. The girl looked back at the others. A smaller child reached for her sleeve. Only then did she pick up the pouch and pass it behind her without drinking first. Nathan noticed. So did the medic. What is your name? Nathan asked. The girl hesitated so long that he thought she would not answer. Mara, she said. Nathan nodded. Mara, I am not putting you back in that container. Her eyes flicked to the bright line of morning outside the door. She looked as if sunlight itself might be a trick. Nathan stepped aside, leaving the doorway clear. Come out when you are ready, he said. No one will pull you. The first child crawled forward after a long pause. Then another. Then the smallest, a child with a round face and silent eyes, clutching something under his shirt. Mara came last because of course she did. Nathan had seen that look before, on children who had been forced to become adults before their voices finished changing. When the last child crossed the threshold, the container seemed even darker behind them. Nathan looked at Perez. Seal it. For evidence? For shame, Nathan said. Then for evidence. By mid-morning, the story had escaped Harbor 9. It did not escape gently. The first headline on the Earth feed said that children of the Veyr had been found abandoned at a human relief port. The second called them enemy-born miners. The third asked why Earth was sheltering the bloodline of a defeated war species. By noon, the interstellar feeds were worse. A commentator from a system that had lost 2 cities in the war demanded to know if Earth had forgotten its dead. Another claimed the children might be planet agents. A third, speaking with a soft voice that made cruelty sound reasonable, said the miners should be transferred to a neutral post-war authority before public emotion created an incident. Nathan did not watch the feeds. He watched the fence. People gathered there before the day grew warm. Some came with signs. Some came with flowers for human dead. Some came with old photographs sealed in clear plastic against the sea air. Harbor 9 had seen protests before, but this one carried a different weight. These are not people angry about policy. Many were people with grief still sitting in their lungs. Nathan stood inside the fence with 4 security officers behind him. No helmets. No rifles. That was his order. Across the barrier, a woman near the front held a photograph of a young man in an Earth peacekeeper uniform. Her gray hair was tied back. Her coat was too heavy for the warm day. Her eyes were fixed not on the building, but on Nathan. Chief Cole, Perez said quietly. That is Laura Bennett. Her son died in the South Rim evacuation. Nathan knew the name. Most peacekeepers did. Laura Bennett had spoken for families after the war. She had never screamed on the feeds. That made people listen more carefully when she was angry. Laura raised her voice. Were they Veyr? Nathan walked closer to the fence. Yes. A murmur moved through the crowd. Children, she asked. Yes. My son died, pulling human children out of a Veyr strike zone, Laura said. He was 26. The people who did that never answered for him. Nathan held her gaze. I know. No, she said. You do not know what it is to put flowers beside a folded uniform every year and then hear that Earth is feeding their children. Nathan felt the old dust in his throat. He thought of Carter. He thought of the apartment block. He thought of messages he had never answered because he had not known what words could carry that much loss. I know enough not to argue with your grief, he said. That quieted some of the crowd. Laura's mouth tightened. Then why are they still here? Because they were found locked in a container without water. They are Veyr. They are children. They will grow. If we do our job, yes. Anger rippled again. Perez shifted behind him. Nathan lifted one hand slightly, and Perez stopped moving. Laura stared at Nathan as if trying to find insult in his face. She did not find it. That seemed to make her angrier. My son does not get to grow, she said. Nathan nodded once. No, he does. Not. The crowd went still. Nathan continued, his voice low enough that the people closest had to listen. I will not tell you to forgive anyone. I will not tell you the war did not happen. I will not tell you your son would want this, because I did not know him well enough to use his name that way. He looked toward the clinic building, then back at her. I'm telling you what is inside that clinic right now. 12 dehydrated children. No weapons. No officers. No one who gave an order. Laura looked toward the clinic building. The windows were shaded. No child could be seen. Nathan said, I'm not asking you to love them. I am asking you not to demand that we put children back into the dark because adults failed to carry justice properly. No one answered for several seconds. Then a man in the crowd shouted that Nathan was a traitor. Another voice shouted back. The protest line began to sway. Nathan turned slightly. Perez, left gate. 2 officers. Keep the groups separated. Nobody shoves anybody into a camera. Perez moved at once. Nathan stayed at the fence until the crowd steadied. He had learned long ago that panic needed room to grow. If you gave it a wall, a shout, and a uniform with a weapon, it could become a riot in 10 seconds. He gave it none of those things. Inside the clinic, the children had been placed in a long recovery room with soft partitions instead of locked cells. Dr. Maya Torres, the senior pediatric physician at Harbor 9, had covered the bright wall screens and lowered the lights. Maya was in her 40s, with tired eyes and the kind of calm that came from many years of telling frightened parents the truth without making it cruel. She met Nathan at the door and handed him a chart. They're severely dehydrated, but stable, she said. No acute infection. Several old bruises. Repeated scanning marks on the wrists and neck. Medical scans? Some were. Some were not. Nathan looked through the observation window. Mara sat on the floor beside the smallest child. She had not taken the cot. The small child leaned against her with his eyes open and empty. His fingers were curled around the lump beneath his shirt. That one is Tavi. Maya said. He has not spoken. Mara says he stopped speaking after the 3rd transfer. 3rd transfer from where? She would not say. Nathan watched Mara break a nutrition bar into pieces. She gave the largest piece to Tavi, then smaller pieces to the others. She kept none for herself until Maya stepped in and placed one directly in her hand. She thinks food is a test, Maya said. Nathan looked at the chart again. What did the container records say? That is another problem. The local manifest says 12 minors. The inner crate tag says 19. Nathan looked up. 19. Maya nodded. 7 names are missing. The number sat between them like a weight. Nathan turned toward the recovery room. Mara was watching him through the glass. Not scared now. Measuring. What else? He asked. Maya lowered her voice. A request came in while you were at the fence. The recovery office has claimed administrative authority. Nathan knew the name. Everyone who had worked post-war relief knew it. The recovery office had been created to account for the missing, return bodies, track displaced property, and organize identity records after the war. It sounded harmless, which was one reason Nathan distrusted it. What language did they use? He asked. Maya's jaw tightened. Unresolved post-war assets. Nathan looked back at the children. They called them assets? Yes. At that moment, Tavi heard the words "the recovery office" from one of the staff outside the room. The child folded inward like he had been struck. He scrambled under the nearest table, dragging the blanket with him. Mara moved fast, faster than her weakness should have allowed. She put herself between Tavi and the door, arms out, eyes wide. "No transfer," she said. Her voice cracked. "No transfer. He did not do anything. I can go instead." The room froze. Nathan opened the door slowly and stepped inside. Mara backed up until her shoulders hit the table. Nathan stopped where he was. "No one is transferring anyone right now." Mara did not lower her arms. "The office wants us," she said. "They always want us after the counting." Nathan felt Maya look at him. He kept his voice even. "What counting?" Mara pressed her lips together. Tavi made a small sound under the table. It was not a word. It was fear trying to become one. Nathan crouched, but not too near. "Mara, I will not force you to talk today," he said. "But I need you to hear me. At Harbor 9, no one leaves this room with strangers unless I know where they're going, why they are going, and how they come back." Mara stared at him. "They do not come back," she said. No one in the room spoke. Nathan looked at the place, under the table, where Tavi hid his face against the blanket. Then he looked at Mara. "Then we find out why." That night, Nathan did not go home. He sat in the Harbor 9 operations room with 2 cold cups of coffee and a wall of records that did not want to be found. Outside the windows, the sea breeze pushed fog against the port lights. Beyond the fence, the protest had thinned but not vanished. People kept candles near the gate. Some for the human dead. Some, Nathan suspected, because they did not know what else to do with grief that had nowhere to stand. Maya sat across from him, sleeves rolled up, hair tied back, reading medical scan logs. "These scan marks," she said, "were taken at different facilities. Same children, different equipment. Routine intake does not map family lines 6 times in 2 months." Nathan looked at the manifest trail. Harbor 9 had received the container from a freight shuttle called the Pale Finch. The Pale Finch had received it from a way station near the burned Veyr border. Before that, the file broke apart. Names appeared, vanished, appeared again with new numbers. Mara's name remained on every list. Tavi's appeared only in the last 2. The 7 missing children were marked in a way Nathan had seen before in bad systems. Not dead, not transferred, not released, just removed from active count. "Someone cleaned this," he said. Maya nodded. "Badly, but yes." "Why leave enough to find?" "Because they did not expect Earth to look hard. They expected us to see Veyr, panic, and hand them over." Nathan leaned back. His shoulders ached. "Maybe we still do." Maya looked at him. He did not soften the words. "Some people above us are already asking if we can move them before the port becomes a flashpoint." "Move them where?" That is the question they do not want to answer. A message blinked on the operations wall. Perez, standing near the door, looked at the message first and swore under his breath. Nathan looked over. "What is it?" "Galactic Council notice," Perez said. "They are recommending immediate transfer to a neutral review station." Maya gave a bitter laugh. "Neutral." Nathan stood and looked at the full message. It was written in language polished until it had no fingerprints. It spoke of safety, stability, review, appropriate custody, and the need to prevent emotional conflict in local populations. It did not use the word children once. Nathan turned away from the screen. "Wake the legal liaison. Tell them we need a hold." Perez nodded. "On what grounds?" "Medical instability. Missing records. Potential witness status." "Will that hold?" "For a few hours. And after that," Nathan looked through the glass wall toward the dark clinic wing. "After that, we make those hours matter." Mara gave Nathan the memory device the next morning. She did not hand it to him at first. She stood in the doorway of the recovery room while the younger children slept. Tavi stood behind her, one hand gripping her shirt. The device lay in Mara's palm. It was no bigger than a coin, dull white, with scratches along the edge where someone had tried to pry it open. Nathan stood on the other side of the hall. He did not reach for it. Mara noticed. You want it? Yes. You could take it. Yes. Why do you not? Because it is yours. That answer confused her more than a threat would have. Mara looked down at the device. Tavi's mother put it in his wrap. She said it remembered when people lied. Nathan kept still. She told him not to give it to officers, Mara said. Not to doctors. Not to anyone who counts children. I am not asking Tavi to give it to an officer, Nathan said. I am asking if you will let Dr. Torres copy what is on it. You can stay in the room. You can stop us at any time. Mara studied his face. If you find names, will you send us to them? If they are safe and if they are alive, we'll try to find them, Nathan said. If they are not safe, I will not use their names to hand you over. You cannot promise that. No, Nathan said. I cannot promise what every government will do. I can promise what I will do while I am standing here. Tavi whispered something so soft Nathan almost missed it. Mara looked down at him. Her face changed. What did he say? Nathan asked. Mara's voice was very quiet. He said the lost ones are cold. Tavi pressed the device into Mara's hand. Mara stepped forward and held it out. Nathan accepted it carefully, as if it were something living. Maya worked on the copy in a small examination room with the door open. Mara and Tavi watched every movement. Nathan stayed by the wall, near enough to be present, far enough not to crowd them. The first sounds from the device were static. Then a child's cough. Then a metal door. Then a voice, adult and bored, saying, "Do not mark the extra minors on the public sheet. Only the active 12 go forward." Mara flinched. Maya stopped the playback. "Do you want to continue?" Mara nodded, but she held Tavi tighter. The next fragment was worse because it was calm. An unseen worker spoke numbers instead of names. Another voice answered with words that made Nathan's stomach harden. Bloodline match confirmed. Transfer approved. Then a child cried out for Mara. Mara made a small sound and covered her mouth with both hands. Nathan looked down at the table until the anger moved through him and found a place to stand where it would not hurt anyone in the room. Maya stopped the playback again. Tavi was shaking. Nathan spoke to him, not to the device. "That is enough for now." Mara looked at him sharply. "There is more. I know. If we stop, they stay lost." "We are not stopping forever," Nathan said. "We are stopping before this room becomes another place that takes something from you." Mara stared at him. That was the first moment Nathan saw a crack in her fear. Not trust yet, but the possibility that trust was not a trap. By afternoon, the copy was secure on an Earth server. Not public. Not yet. Nathan sent a protected summary to Earth Relief Command. Maya sent a medical report that used plain language no official could easily hide from. These children were not cargo. These children had been repeatedly scanned, moved, and reduced in number. These children might be witnesses to crimes committed after the war. The reply came 3 hours later. Earth Relief Command ordered Harbor 9 to maintain protective custody until further review. Nathan looked over the message twice. Perez saw his face. "That sounds good." "It is not enough," Nathan said, "but it means they stay. For now." A second message arrived before sunset. This one came through a Galactic Council channel. It warned Earth that failure to cooperate with neutral post-war transfer could affect Earth's access to future relief routes. Perez looked at Nathan. "They're threatening the port. They're threatening every refugee who might need this port later," Nathan said. That was the real pressure. Not his job, not his name, not whether the feeds called him a traitor. If Harbor 9 lost interstellar access, other ships would stop coming. Families from other worlds would be diverted to places less careful, less open, less willing to take difficult cases. Protecting 12 children could risk thousands not yet seen. Systems understood that kind of pressure. They knew how to make mercy feel selfish. Nathan walked to the recovery room near midnight. The lights were low. Most of the children slept badly, with their shoes still on. Mara sat near the door, fighting sleep. Tavi lay beside her, one hand still closed around nothing, as if the device were still there. "You can rest," Nathan said softly. Mara looked up. Someone has to watch. That is my job. You sleep? Sometimes. Then who watches when you sleep? Nathan almost smiled. Perez, usually. He complains, but he does it. Mara did not smile back. At the other place, they said sleep made counting easier. Nathan sat on the floor across the hall, not blocking the door, just near it. No one is counting you tonight. You count everyone, to make sure no one is missing. That is not why they counted. I know. Mara rested her head against the wall. There were 19 when we left the nursery ship. Nathan stayed still. Then 16. Then 15. Then 12. Her voice was flat in the way voices become when tears have already been used up. They said the others had better matches. Do you know where they went? No. Do you remember their names? Mara closed her eyes. All of them. Nathan let that answer settle. Tomorrow, he said, if you want, we will write them down. Not numbers. Names. Mara opened her eyes again. Why, she asked. Because names are harder to erase. Outside Harbor 9, the argument changed after the first verified report leaked. No one knew who leaked it. Nathan did not ask too loudly. It might have been someone in Earth Relief Command. It might have been a clerk in the council relay who still had a conscience. It might have been one of the medics who had heard enough children crying through walls. The leak did not include the full memory file. It only confirmed that the container had once carried 19 children and that 7 were unaccounted for. That was enough. The crowd at the fence split into 2 crowds. One group still demanded removal. They said Veyr records could not be trusted, that anything connected to that species might be a trick, that Earth was being played. The other group wanted answers. They asked why children were missing. They asked why a relief office used the word assets. They asked why the council wanted the transfer to happen before the records were reviewed. Between those 2 groups stood Nathan's security team, tired and careful. Nathan moved along the line, adjusting positions, keeping the angriest voices apart. He ordered water stations placed outside the fence for protesters and staff alike. Perez looked surprised. Even the ones calling us traitors? Especially them, Nathan said. Heat makes people stupid. At mid-afternoon, Laura Bennett returned. She did not carry her son's photograph this time. She carried a folded blanket. Nathan met her at the side gate. I'm not here to cause trouble, she said. I believe you. I still think this is wrong. Nathan waited. Laura looked toward the clinic. But I saw the report. 7 children missing. Yes. Is it true? We believe it is. She swallowed. And the small one. The one they showed for half a second on the feed. Does he speak? Not much. How old? We are still confirming. Very young. Laura's eyes hardened, but not at Nathan. At something inside herself. My son was pulled from a street with children around him, she said. He had given his water to a little girl before he died. Nathan said nothing. He knew when silence was respect. Laura looked down at the blanket. I brought this for the clinic. Not for them, exactly. All right. I am not forgiving the Veyr. No one asked you to. I do not want people saying I did. I will not. She handed him the blanket through the gate. Her hands trembled once, then steadied. Nathan took it. Thank you. Laura nodded, turned, and walked back to the crowd. From the clinic window, Mara watched. Nathan brought the blanket inside and placed it on a supply chair. He did not tell the children who brought it. Not yet. A gift with too much explanation could become another burden. Mara looked at it. From outside? Yes. From angry people? From one person who is angry and still brought a blanket. Mara seemed to think about that for a long time. That is confusing, she said. Nathan nodded. Yes. Is Earth always confusing? On our better days. The transfer order arrived before dawn. It came in 3 layers. First, a formal council directive recommending immediate compliance. Then an Earth diplomatic warning that refusal could place Harbor 9 under route review. Finally, a notice from the recovery office stated that a transfer team would land at Harbor 9 by late morning to take custody of the Veyr miners. Nathan looked at the last notice twice. Maya stood beside him in the operations room. They are coming here. Yes. Can Earth stop them? Earth can delay them. For how long? Nathan looked at the clock. Not long enough unless we make the cost of taking them higher than the cost of leaving them. Maya understood. Public record. Controlled release, Nathan said. No private medical details. No faces without consent. Names of the missing children only if Mara agrees. Maya folded her arms. She's a child. Yes. So we do not use her pain like they did. They found Mara sitting with Tavi and 3 of the younger children near the recovery room window. The sky outside was gray. Seabirds wheeled over the distant water beyond the pads. Nathan explained the situation in plain words. The transfer team was coming. Earth was challenging the order, but the challenge might not hold. The memory device could help prove that the children were witnesses, not assets. But releasing any part of it would bring attention that might hurt. Mara listened without blinking. What happens if we go with them? She asked. Nathan did not lie. I do not know. That means bad. It means I do not know. Will they bring us back? Nathan hesitated. Mara nodded as if he had answered. Tavi leaned against her side. Nathan said, Mara, you do not have to decide alone. We can protect the record without showing everything. The lost ones had names, Mara said. Yes. If no one hears them, they stay numbers. Nathan felt the room go very quiet. Maya knelt near the bed. We can release the names and the proof that the list changed. We do not have to release the worst sounds. Mara looked at Tavi. Tavi whispered one word. Nathan did not catch it, but Mara did. She looked back at Nathan. He says names. Nathan nodded. Then names. By 9 in the morning, Harbor 9 was surrounded by cameras. Nathan hated cameras in a crisis. Cameras made people perform fear. They made officials speak carefully instead of truthfully. They made angry people angrier because they could see themselves being seen. Today, cameras were also protection. The transfer ship came down at 10:30. It was smooth, black, and quiet, the kind of vessel built to look calm while carrying force. It landed beyond Pad 3, near enough to send message. The side hatch opened. 8 officers in gray field armor stepped out with a woman in a pale coat between them. Her name was Sella Vorn, and her title was Recovery Office Field Director. Nathan had reviewed her file. She had signed transfer papers for post-war miners across 5 systems. She walked toward the clinic gate as if Harbor 9 were already hers. Nathan met her at the inner checkpoint with Perez and 2 unarmed security officers behind him. Director Vorn looked at Nathan's empty hands. Chief Cole, I appreciate your cooperation. You do not have it yet. Her expression did not change. The miners are under post-war review authority. Earth was notified. Earth has placed them under protective medical custody. Protective custody does not supersede council review. It does when evidence suggests the reviewing office may be part of the harm. That moved something in her eyes just slightly. Vorn lowered her voice. You are making this larger than it needs to be. Nathan looked past her at the black ship. No, someone made it large when 7 children disappeared from a list. A murmur moved through the cameras behind the fence. Vorn smiled without warmth. Unverified fragments should not guide policy. Children should not vanish in policy. You are emotionally involved. Yes, Nathan said. That is what happens when you open the door and find them breathing. The officers behind Vorn shifted. Nathan saw it. Perez saw it too. Perez's hand moved an inch toward his belt. Nathan gave him one look, and Perez stopped. No escalation. Not yet. Vorn lifted a tablet. The transfer is authorized. If you refuse, you risk Harbor 9's certification and Earth's relief privileges. Nathan thought of all the ships that had landed here with people who had nowhere else to go. He thought of how systems like the Recovery Office survived by making every moral choice threaten someone else. He stepped aside from the gate, but did not open it. You can wait here while Earth Command reviews your claim. My team will enter now. No. Chief Cole, do you understand the consequences? Yes. Do you have authority to refuse? Nathan looked directly at the cameras. I have authority to prevent harm on this port. Inside the clinic, Mara heard enough. No one had meant for her to hear it. Maya had lowered the room speakers, but the transfer ship was visible from the window. Children who had survived by reading adults did not need full sentences. Mara gathered the younger children. Tavi clung to her sleeve. We go, she said. One of the little ones began to cry. If we go, they stop hurting Earth, Mara. said. Her voice was firm in the way only a terrified child's voice can be when she has decided terror is less important than duty. We do not make good people lose their place. Maya turned from a door. Mara, wait. But Mara had already opened the recovery room door. Nathan saw them at the end of the hall, just as Veyr ordered her officers forward. Mara walked first, thin shoulders straight, Tavi at her side. The other children followed in a tight line. They had put on their shoes. They had folded their blankets on the cots. Nathan understood that detail and nearly broke under it. They had prepared to leave nothing behind. Mara stopped a few feet from him. "We will go," she said. The cameras outside caught her voice. So did the crowd. So did Veyr. Nathan turned fully toward Mara and went down to one knee, not caring who watched. He did it the same way he had at the container door, lowering himself until she did not have to look up at him. "No," he said. Mara's lips trembled. "If we stay, Harbor 9 is punished. That is not your burden. You said other refugees need this place. They do. Then we should not break it." Nathan's throat tightened. Around them, the hallway had gone silent. "You are not breaking it," he said. "The people trying to take children into the dark are breaking it." Mara shook her head. "We know how to go. We are good going." That sentence hit harder than any accusation could have. Nathan took a slow breath. "Listen to me. A child does not have to disappear so adults can call the room peaceful." Mara stared at him. "You were forced to be brave in ways no child should be," he said. "But not here. Not through that door." His voice stayed low, but everyone near him heard it. If Earth cannot protect sleeping children because someone threatened a permit, then Earth was never sanctuary. It was only a sign on a gate. Mara looked toward the clinic windows, toward the crowd, toward the ship. "We are Veyr," she whispered. Nathan nodded. "Yes. They hate us." "Some do. Do you?" The hallway seemed to hold its breath. Nathan thought of Carter, of the apartment block, of names on walls, of folded flags, of all the reasons hate could feel earned. Then he looked at Tavi, who held Mara's sleeve as if the world would end if he let go. "No," Nathan said. "I hate what war made everyone carry. I do not hate you." Mara's face changed. She did not cry. She only looked suddenly younger. Behind Nathan, Laura Bennett stepped through the side entrance. Perez moved to stop her, then recognized her and paused. Laura walked slowly, as if every step cost her. She looked at the Veyr children. They looked back, afraid. She held the blanket she had brought the day before. Nathan had not realized she had taken it from the supply chair. Maybe Maya had given it back to her. Maybe Laura had asked. Laura stopped beside Tavi. The little boy stared at the floor. Laura's voice was rough. "My son died in the war." Mara stiffened. "We are sorry." "I know you are," Laura said. "That is the part one did not expect." She looked toward Director Veyr and the cameras beyond the gate. "I'm still angry," Laura said. "I will be angry for the rest of my life. But I will not let my grief become another door closing on a child." Then she unfolded the blanket and placed it gently around Tavi's shoulders. Tavi did not move. Laura did not touch him again. She did not ask for thanks. She did not call him hers. She only stood beside him, shaking but upright. Director Veyr's face hardened. "This is emotional theater." Nathan stood. "No," he said. "This is a witness." Maya's voice came over the public speakers before Veyr could answer. It was steady, but Nathan knew her well enough now to hear the anger beneath it. Harbor 9 is releasing a verified summary of the Veyr Minor Manifest. 19 children were logged at origin. 12 arrived on Earth. 7 names were removed from public transfer records. Maya paused just long enough for the crowd to understand. The children now in Earth's care have been scanned repeatedly by agencies tied to post-war recovery review. Earth is opening an emergency witness protection hold pending investigation. Across the fence, people began checking their feeds. The names appeared there, not numbers. Names. Mara heard people in the crowd speak them aloud, people who had never spoken Veyr names before. Some pronounced them badly. Some stumbled, but they tried. Tavi lifted his head. One of the younger children started crying, not from fear this time, but because a name she knew had reached the open air. Director Veyr turned toward her officers. "Proceed." Nathan moved before they did. He He did not draw a weapon. He did not shove anyone. He stepped into the center of the hallway and pointed to the floor. Harbor 9 security line, he said. No one crosses without Earth Command authorization. Perez and the other security officers formed beside him. Then Maya stood there too. Then 2 nurses. Then a maintenance worker still wearing a tool belt. Then Laura Bennett, blanket still touching Tavi's shoulder. Outside the glass doors, the crowd saw the line form. Some people shouted in anger. Others shouted for the officers to stop. The pressure shifted. Nathan felt it in the air the way he used to feel weather change before shelling. Veyr had expected shame to isolate Earth. Instead, the missing names had made the transfer look like what it was. Not a rescue. A removal. Veyr spoke in her wrist relay. Nathan could not hear the reply, but he saw her expression tighten. Minutes passed. No one moved. Finally, an Earth Command channel opened on Nathan's earpiece. The voice of Admiral Reyes, the Earth Relief Director, sounded tired and very clear. Chief Cole, Earth Command has issued a temporary refusal of transfer. Harbor 9 will retain custody of the miners under witness protection and emergency asylum review. Nathan closed his eyes for 1 second. Reyes continued. The council has filed an objection. Let them. Hold your line. Nathan opened his eyes. Yes, Director, he said. Director, Veyr heard enough from her own relay to know the moment had turned. She lowered her tablet. This will have consequences, she said. Nathan looked at the children behind him. Mara stood with one hand on Tavi's shoulder. Laura stood beside them, pale but unbroken. Most choices worth making do, Nathan said. Veyr's officers withdrew first. She followed last. The black ship lifted from pad 3 without taking a single child. No one cheered at first. The silence after the ship left was too large for cheering. It held too many dead, too many missing, too many people who had almost let a polished order do an ugly thing. Then one person outside the fence began to speak the 7 names again. Others joined, not as a chant, not as a victory cry, more like a promise that, for at least one morning on Earth, the missing would not be quiet. Mara listened until her knees gave out. Nathan caught her before she hit the floor. She was light, too light. For the first time since the container door opened, she did not fight being carried. The days after the standoff did not become easy. That mattered to Nathan. Easy endings usually meant someone had hidden the cost. The Galactic Council did not apologize. It issued a statement about procedural concern and the need for careful review. The Recovery Office denied wrongdoing and suspended Director Veyr before anyone could ask who had authorized her orders. Several systems accused Earth of turning children into political weapons. Several others quietly sent their own missing miner records to Harbor 9. Earth relief routes came under review for 48 hours. Harbor 9 prepared for the possibility that ships would stop coming. They did not. The first ship after the standoff carried 32 refugees from a moon whose water system had failed during post-war sanctions. Its captain asked for landing permission in a voice that sounded ashamed to need help. Nathan granted it. Harbor 9 received them the same way it received everyone else, with tired medics, clear instructions, and security officers who kept their hands away from their weapons unless danger made it necessary. The Veyr children were moved out of the clinic after 1 week. Not to a prison wing, not to a hidden facility. They were moved to a protected house near the old seawall. It had wide windows, low beds, and doors that opened from the inside. Nathan checked that himself. Mara watched him test every latch. "You think we will run?" she asked. "No," Nathan said. "I think you should know you can leave a room." She touched the door handle as if it were something rare. Tavi had begun speaking in single words. "Water. Light. Mara. No. Sleep." The first time he said Nathan's name, he said it so softly Nathan almost missed it. Then he hid behind Mara as if speaking had exposed him. Nathan pretended not to notice the fear. He only nodded. "I hear you," he said. Laura Bennett came 3 days after the children moved to the house. She stood on the porch with a folded blue blanket in her arms. Nathan met her outside. "You do not have to do this," he said. "I know. You also do not have to explain what you can and cannot feel." Laura looked out at the water. That is good because I do not know. Nathan waited. My son loved the ocean, she said. When he was little, he thought waves were the planet breathing. Nathan looked toward the windows. Inside, Tavi sat on the floor with a cup in both hands, watching Mara sort donated clothes by size. Do they know I am here? Laura asked. Mara does. Is she afraid? Yes. Laura nodded. Smart girl. Nathan almost smiled. Yes. Laura stepped inside. The room went quiet. Not forced quiet. Survival quiet. The kind children make when a new adult enters and they need to know what shape the danger has. Laura stopped several feet from Tavi. She lowered herself slowly into a chair instead of standing over him. I brought something, she said. Mara translated the meaning to the younger children in simple Veyr words. Nathan did not understand the language, but he understood tone. Careful, protective, ready to withdraw. Laura held out the blanket, not all the way to Tavi, just enough that he could choose. I had a son, she said. His name was Daniel. He was kind. I am angry that he is gone. Tavi stared at the blanket. Laura's voice shook. But you did not take him from me. No one moved. I do not know how to stop being angry, she said. But I know this. You do not have to apologize for being alive. Mara looked away first. Tavi reached for the blanket with 2 fingers. Laura let him take it. She did not touch him. She did not cry until he had pulled the blanket into his lap and looked at it as if it were too soft to be real. Then Laura covered her mouth and turned toward the window. Nathan looked away to give her that. Much privacy. That evening, Earth issued the new rule. It did not have a grand name at first. It was a dry emergency protection order written by tired people under too much pressure. But its meaning was clear enough for every relief worker to understand. No child could be transferred out of Earth's protection based only on species, bloodline, political origin, or the crimes of a fallen government. No postwar agency could claim a minor as an asset. No missing child record could be sealed from humanitarian review without an Earth challenge. It was not enough to repair the galaxy. It was enough to keep the 12 children in the house by the sea. It was enough to make other systems angry. It was enough to make some frightened people send quiet messages asking if Earth could look for their missing too. Late that night, Nathan sat on the porch outside the protected house. He had a bandage across one forearm where someone in the crowd had thrown a broken sign during the standoff. The cut was shallow. Maya had told him he was lucky. Nathan had told her luck had very little to do with proper sleeves. She had not laughed, but she had almost smiled. Inside, the children slept. Mara did not. Nathan saw her through the window, sitting beside the bedroom door with her knees drawn up, fighting sleep the way she had in the clinic. He opened the porch door, just enough to speak softly. Mara. She looked at him. You do not have to watch the door. She whispered something he could not hear. He stepped inside, but stayed near the wall. Say it again. If I sleep, they might take us. No transfer order tonight. Orders come when children sleep. Nathan felt the truth of her life in that sentence. He sat on the floor outside the bedroom door. Then I will sit here. Mara frowned. All night. That is the plan. You cannot do that every night. No, but tonight is the first night. First nights matter. She looked at the younger children. Tavi slept under Laura's blue blanket, one hand still holding the edge. Mara said, at the nursery ship, the small ones slept if I counted their breathing. Who counted yours? She did not answer. Nathan leaned his head back against the wall. Tonight, I will count the doors. You count nothing. Mara looked at him for a long time. Then she lay down on the thin mattress near Tavi. She did not fall asleep quickly. Children like Mara rarely did. Her eyes stayed open, shining in the low light. Every sound from the hallway made her fingers twitch. Nathan stayed where he was. Outside, waves moved against the seawall. Harbor 9's lights glowed through the mist. Far above Earth, the council argued, offices covered themselves, and systems decided what kind of truth they could afford to believe. But inside the little house, 12 Veyr children were not in a container. They were not on a transfer list. They were not assets, samples, or risks. They were children under blankets. Tavi woke once before dawn. He sat up fast, breathing hard, eyes searching the room for guards who were not there. Nathan lifted one hand from the hallway. No one is taking you tonight, he said. Tavi stared at him. Then the child touched the blue blanket, looked at Mara sleeping beside him, and slowly lay back down. Mara did not wake. That was the first miracle Earth gave her. Not a speech, not a victory, not forgiveness wrapped in music. Just one night where the child who had guarded everyone else finally slept while someone stronger watched the door. By morning, the story had spread far beyond Harbor 9. Some worlds called Earth reckless. Some called Earth arrogant. Some said humanity had insulted the dead. Some said humanity had remembered what the living were for. Nathan ignored most of it. He stood at the edge of the sea wall with a cup of coffee going cold in his hand and watched the first transport of the morning come in low over the water. Mara stepped onto the porch behind him. She held Tavi's blanket around her shoulders because he had insisted she use it while he slept. "Will more come?" she asked. Nathan looked at the transport. Another ship, another need, another chance for the galaxy to fail someone before Earth had to decide what kind of place it wanted to be. "Yes," he said. "More will come. Veyr. Maybe others. Will they be afraid? Probably." Mara stood beside him, small and straight and older than she should have been. "What will you do?" she asked. Nathan watched the transport settle toward Harbor 9. He thought about the container, the missing names, Laura's blanket, the line in the hallway, the first night without a transfer order. Then he looked at Mara. "We opened the door," he said. She looked toward the landing pads, where medics and workers were already moving. This time, when a morning noise rose from Harbor 9, Mara did not flinch. It was not silence anymore. It was people alive. And for the first time in a long time, she did not hear it as a warning. She heard it as a place waking up. After everything they had survived, the children of Veyr did not need the galaxy to cheer for them. They did not need statues, speeches, or promises from people who had once looked away. They only needed one quiet night, one safe room, one locked door that no one would open to drag them away. And on Earth, under a sky that did not know their crimes because they had never committed any, they finally slept. That was the truth Nathan Cole understood before anyone else did. Humanity did not become the galaxy's last sanctuary because it was stronger than every empire, louder than every council, or richer than every world that turned those children away. Humanity became the last sanctuary because one human being opened a door that everyone else wanted to leave closed. And when the cost came, Earth did not step back. It stood there, for children who had no army, for names that had been erased, for lives the galaxy had almost decided were easier to forget. Maybe that is what mercy really is. Not forgetting the pain, not pretending the war never happened, but refusing to let the innocent pay the final price for it. Thank you for listening to this story. If it stayed with you, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might enjoy meaningful science fiction stories. Stories about courage, humanity, and the lives no one should leave behind. And if you want, leave a comment below and tell me which moment moved you the most. Your support helps this channel keep growing, and it helps more listeners find stories like this. Until the next journey, I hope your day is peaceful, your heart is steady, and you remember this. Sometimes, the most powerful thing humanity can do is simply refuse to close the door.